Welcome to WooCommerce Live, Season 2, Episode 4. I'm Jonathan Wold. I lead community initiatives here at WooCommerce, and with me is my co-host, Noëlle Steegs, developer who also volunteers here in the WooCommerce community. Today's episode, we are continuing in our 8-part series focused on helping new merchants go from idea to first customer. You don't have to be new, but we're going to start off, as always, with our community spotlight, looking at wins across the WooCommerce community and sharing some of our favorite resources. Then we're going to jump into today's topic, and afterwards we'll do some live Q&A. Well, what wins do we have to celebrate in the community this week?
Yeah, we have some great wins to celebrate here. So the first one is Dashcommerce. Dashcommerce is an app that offers valuable insights of your WooCommerce store. And we actually highlighted it in the very first episode of Woo Live. But Leonardo Miranda, he shared that they have this exciting new feature where you can show all your orders in map view. So he said that a lot of people who use the app actually do deliveries themselves. So I can imagine it's really easy then to see like, okay, this area, and helps them route, but also it helps people see the hotspots of where orders come from. Really something different that I haven't seen before. The different colored dots are order statuses, by the way.
Nice.
And there's different kind of filters that you can apply and such. Thought it was nifty, so I wanted to share that. And the app is... I
was just saying, one thing I love about this, happy to see all these other platforms supported, but WooCommerce is the one that it's working with right now.
Yeah, exactly. Woo was first.
Carry on.
And I love the when you scroll down, you'll see like you can actually cast the whole thing on your TV screen, so you can see like all your Woo reports and orders coming in and such. So that's really, it's really cool. And it's available on iOS and Android, so that's great. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah, let me move on to the next one. Deborah Winter, she just launched Little N's Baby Boutique. Her son built it, and she's been helping by like loading and managing the products because she also got a physical store, so she needs to match the inventory up. And I really like how it's really clear on the homepage, what she's selling based on the navigation and the pictures, that are above the fold. It's immediately clear. People know immediately, like, I'm in the right place or I'm not in the right place. So, congrats on the launch, Deborah. Very well done.
This is adorable. My kids are way bigger than this, but I still have that. Oh, I want to go out and get some of this stuff. This is fantastic. Wow. Very cool. Congrats.
And last but not least, there's Elizabeth Steck. She paints the most adorable custom pet portraits. And she recently added Woo to her existing site, which is called Paint and Pose. She also donates 10% of every sale to like a nonprofit animal rescue, which I think is really great. It's a great way of giving back. And she said she made 2 sales this week, so that's really well done. She's still starting up, but that's really cool. I think they're super cute,
That's so good to see. I love that. Awesome. Over on the Meetup side, our featured meetup this week is the WooCommerce Meetup in Mexico. It's in Spanish. If you're no Spanish, awesome to attend. If you want to learn Spanish, you're brushing up, also awesome to attend. They do some great work there. And there's meetups happening all around the world. And right now, especially, most of them are happening virtually. So if you want to find a meetup, we highly recommend it. Go to woocommerce.com/meetups, and you can find one there. And if you're interested in starting a meetup, let us know. I'd love to help you get one up and running. All right. And what about our resources around the web? What did you like this week?
So last week I shared a post on ways to use social media, and this time I wanted to go more specific. For those who don't know, TikTok, it's a social media channel that focuses on these really short, snappy videos, and it is growing so fast. I mean, it has over 800 million active users. So if you're not on there, if you think it could be suitable for your business, a better laminate stand, they did this great beginner's guide that you should check out.
This is fantastic. TikTok is, I played with it a little while, a couple weeks ago. It's a bit of a dark hole. It's pretty impressive. it's pretty amazing, like how effectively it works. So I looked and it was way too late at night. So I'm like, all right, it's time to take a little break from this, but very impressive.
It grabs your attention, right? Because everything is like so short and quick. Like you want to see what's next. And yeah, before you know it, you've consumed, I don't know how many of the videos. So yeah, it's actually really smart.
Catering to me as well. Like I said, I'm interested in DIY stuff. I'm interested in like outdoors, and then it's like filtering it down. Like, wow, this is so good. And there's some Woo stuff on there too. So this was awesome. What else you got?
So for those who are thinking of creating a print-on-demand store, they should have a look at Printfy, because Printfy, they offer an excellent WooCommerce integration. They have a very large catalog of products. You basically put it together. You sell your designs. They take care of the printing and the shipping for you. They even have a thing where if you don't have a website yet and you don't have a host yet, they set you up with that and the WooCommerce plugin and the Printfy plugin all for you. Very, very neat.
Wow. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I think it could be really quick and easy to get up and running with a plugin like Printfy, and turn an idea in an actual product without having to invest in inventory and all that kind of thing.
That's awesome.
And then last but not least, there's this success story that I wanted to share about the dog's Meow. Cute name, by the way. It's a pet food subscription business, and its founder, Chris Hugo, he was inspired to leverage technology to make something that's relatively routine, buying pet food, to make it just more simple. So now people can just go on there, sign up for the subscription, and that's it. Then they can wait to have the food delivered, on a regular schedule. So I think that's great. He's looked at something, people don't, and I see that more and more with the subscriptions. Like people don't want to have to remember to buy pet food or buy coffee, for example. They always want to have a supply. This guarantees that supply. It's like a no-brainer.
There's some great play on words in this. That's fantastic. Very cool. Awesome. So this week we're doing something a little bit different. In the last episode, we talked about the importance of selling your product idea before you make it. It helps you align with customer value, improve what you ultimately deliver as you respond to the feedback that you're getting, and it helps you reduce business risk. So at this stage in the process, this is where the magic comes in. Like this part is all you. You chose an audience, you found a problem to solve, you came up with a potential solution, you sold it before you made it. Now this is where you actually make the thing. And we were thinking about this, since at least a few of you are going to go through this series before you get started, this episode is focused on just offering you some inspiration. We're going to share some examples of the different types of products that you might create. And then we're going to offer some guidance to keep in mind based on what we've seen work as we've watched kind of what's been done out there. So let's go ahead and get started. What are some of the ways, Noëlle, that we've seen people create products?
Yeah, so there's quite a few directions one could take, actually. One that we've seen is handcrafted products. So they often start as a hobby, for example, and it can be things just, made at home by one person or, by a team. And it can be anything from leather goods, candles, jewelry, cosmetics, food, you name it, and there is a little bit of a downside there where it is a bit harder to scale. So it's quite labor intensive. Yeah. But then also there's a lot of people who love people like me who love handmade things specifically, So there's a great market there. In all kinds of industries. So that itself, the fact that it's handmade is such a pro. And I imagine it's quite easy to kind of start up like by yourself, if I know somebody who started by making cookies in a kitchen and scaled it to this multi-million rand, which is 6-figure business, just from by starting in a kitchen. So that threshold is not high at all. Like I would say, it's quite easy to start something like that.
So last night, my daughter has a project for school, and there's this this children's book series most people know, like, called Cat in the Hat. So it's got this cat with this big red and white hat. So she wanted to, the project was to take a pumpkin and to dress it up like a character. So she chose Cat in the Hat. So I got the bright idea of, let's make a hat for this. Like, so I went to the store, got the ingredients. I got the materials, not the ingredients. And we spent together last night, so this is my 7-year-old, about 3 hours making this hat. Now, we don't have a sewing machine. So all that's to say, two things happen. One, I have a lot more appreciation for people making these products from scratch. And two, there's something really special about it. Like, we could have just like bought a hat. But I now have all the leftover materials, and I kind of suspect she may get into making more things. She's like, Dad, this is a lot of fun. She wants to make more. So maybe something else to add to her little e-commerce store in the future.
That's lovely.
You had another example of handmade. What do we have here?
Yes, there's the biltong factory. Biltong is actually a South African snack. Very, very popular, very yummy. It's maybe a cousin of beef jerky for those who are in the US. Not completely. But this is really well laid out.
Yeah.
Makes me want some, like, right here on my desk right now, you know?
So handcrafted, it seems like it's not scalable per se, but if you get the right combination, you can really have some unique things. And I imagine part of the way that you would address handcrafted products is charge appropriately, right? Like, you're not scale. Think about where you can find a particularly high value and go from there. All right. What's another way? Oh, go ahead.
And one last thing about the handmade that I like as well, that I, especially in South Africa, I see quite a lot of. It's very, it makes it possible to empower people, you know, maybe people that, like in South Africa, there's a lot of people who haven't had their basic education, for example. So they can learn a skill, they can get a job. Employment rate is really low here. So they think of many ways to create jobs. So, I see it in stores, for example, like things like cookies and snacks that are made as part of an empowerment project. So, depending on what you're making, it may be really easy to learn and to teach someone else. So I think that's a great thing as well.
That's amazing.
More jobs for more people.
Let's get this food off the screen.
Okay, so another way is to manufacture a new product. So that will be completely new, and often you can work with a third-party manufacturer that can support your vision. Like, for example, if one of the things you want to bring onto the market is clothing, but you're not a good sewer, then you can find a sewer who will take a percentage of the profit and do the work for you that way. Sometimes you might be dealing with minimum orders depending on what your product is and which manufacturer you're dealing with. So you must think about, like, upfront cost and storage of the inventory, etc. And then there are some great examples that we have. One is Ubuntu Baba, and it's baby carriers that are made by Shannon and sued by her father's outdoor gear manufacturing company.
Wow.
So it's a win-win. Yeah, I mean, that's very close to home in a way. That's great if you can collaborate like that.
That's amazing. This reminds me too of, on last week's episode, we had Nick of Tiny Wood Stove, and he also kind of went through that process. Initially drop shipping, which I know we'll talk about in a bit, but then the manufacturing process, and you have to deal with all that, like minimum orders. The upside, you can really make something custom and special. You also had this example. This is also, another great example of.
Yeah, they print their homeschool resource books at the local print shop. So, obviously supporting local is great, whenever you can. So I think that's well done.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So drop shipping, let's talk about that.
Yeah, so dropshipping, I actually got some personal experience with, because that's how I actually got into Woo when I was still a merchant and not a developer back in the day. So dropshipping means that you source your suppliers, people place an order on your site, you push the order to the supplier, and the supplier ships directly to the customer. And what the advantages of that is, you don't have to worry about like upfront investment. You know, you don't have to worry about storage, you don't have to figure out the shipping, none of that. I believe sometimes the commission can be a bit lower than, you know, when you buy stock like in bulk. But that's okay. And depending who you're working with, I found people might be able to negotiate. You know, I actually was lucky back then to get like wholesale rates on a dropshipping agreement. So that was just amazing. But there might also be a lot of competition, depending on which niche you're in, because it's quite easy to do, right?
Yeah.
So maybe we should have a look at some of the examples of dropshipping sites that we saw. There's Nordic Outfit, and they're a Belgian fashion label, and they dropship organic clothing.
Very cool. Are they a supplier, or are they doing this on behalf, or are they actually dropshipping other people's stuff?
Yeah, no, they're dropshipping.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, and I totally understand there's a big market for this. Like, I like to shop sustainably myself, but often you find like if you buy directly, then it might be kind of like a mission to find things like maybe together, maybe you want to buy an outfit or anything like that. So then this thing is great.
Yeah, that's very cool. And what's this other example? Avocados.
Avocados. Who doesn't love avocados, right? So these people obviously recognize that avocados are a thing, you know, now for a while. And they've gone ahead and sourced all these like quirky, cute products that are avocado themed and are selling it through their store. So everybody who just loves avocados can come there. I can imagine it's a great place to buy a gift for somebody who loves avos.
That's fantastic. And the advantages of a dropshipping model are that you can bring together, like you can kind of do the work, the audience work, the problem to solve work, bring it together. And then some people just want to be in the fulfillment business, right? Like they're making the product. They don't want to have to deal with the customers and all that. And you can sort of abstract that out. So it's a good thing to sort of weigh the pros and cons of. Awesome.
So the next way that I want to talk about is printing products on demand. So one way you can do that is, you know, through something like Printfy that I mentioned earlier, but there are other excellent ones out there as well that offer good integrations. So it's similar to dropshipping in the way that they will manufacture and then ship to the customer. So you just take care of the design. I've seen some of them. You can, you know, make your own markups, like right there and then, and hit the publish button, and you know, there it is, kind of thing. Very, very good. One thing that might be downside is, you know, you don't have that much control over variety. Some of these manufacturers offer more different products than others, more variety or less variety. The profit margins can be a bit lower, again, depending on who you're working with, but then they are taking care of quite a lot of the process. So, you know, I think their profit should match that, but also one to quite easily get started with. Yep.
What I love about drop shipping, I've mentioned it before, but like with my daughter, you know, she does her artwork, print on demand, which they also sort of fulfill for you at the same time. It's an amazing way, especially if, like, as an artist, if you're creating concepts, being able to put your designs and your work into, you know, an existing product that can be custom printed. It's powerful, and it's especially a great thing for kids to be able to start off with. That's fantastic.
So next is creating digital goods. So digital goods, you know, it can be anything from memberships to audiobooks to photographs, anything like that. There can be high competition in the area, but it's also like with that, you don't have to worry about shipping it. Also, you can use it to generate passive income because, for example, once you have created a course and you put it online, you'll be answering some support questions and things like that, but you don't have to create it over and over and over again. It can't keep making money for you. So I would say that's the big upside about creating something digital.
Digital is powerful. It's such a wide open, like we've given a couple examples, but there's so many things that you can do in terms of like products that you can fulfill digitally or experiences that you can create. We had a couple of examples here. Filter grade. Yeah, go ahead.
So this is like a marketplace to buy assets like photo filters and sound effects, all these kind of digital assets. Which looks really great, really great resource for creatives. And then there is Steegs, and they sell memberships for online comedy shows. So people can watch like from home, nice and cozy, relatively inexpensive compared to watching a live show. I'm curious whether this came up during COVID or not, or whether it existed before. But yeah, that's really something different and something many people I know would enjoy, actually.
There is so much opportunity for innovation in the virtual space. And you're right. Like there is a lot of competition. This is why it's so important, though, to have that audience problem focus, sell something before you make it. Like virtual has a low barrier of entry, but one of the mistakes we see oftentimes is people just jumping in. Like, no, take a step back, make sure you have your audience, find the problem to solve. And it can be a great thing. The other thing that we've seen that can work really well is to do virtual products in combination with physical products, right? Like you may have a physical product focus, but don't miss an opportunity to create a digital or virtual product that might complement it. There's a lot of opportunities there. Last but not least,
turning services into products. So for example, say graphic design or accounting or legal services or, anything like that. You can make a service of and sell. It can be a little bit challenging to scale. Yep. You would probably like build a team around that. But what would you say are the biggest benefits of choosing like a service over a product?
What's interesting about services, and in this case, so there's the two spectrums, right? Services is very it tends to be one-off. It's something that requires time. You have to put time into the delivery of it, right? And then products are things that you can create and then sell and exchange. So there's a tend to be the spectrum. Productized services sit in the middle. What can be really attractive about them is that they tend to be very oriented around problem solving, right? Like you're doing something for someone. The productized bit is this idea where you make it like so process oriented and straightforward that it can be done consistently, that multiple people can do it, that you're not reliant on like a high-end specialist to do it. Yes. Pest control is an example, right? Like people want to get rid of pests, so you'll hire a pest control person who has a process that they follow. The example that you've got here is like they have a bunch of, yeah, go ahead.
So they sell different home services online.
Yep.
So people can pay for package or subscription for things like electronic repairs and maintenance services. Yeah, it's very, very clever.
This is a great example. Productized services tend to be attractive because they have a lower cost because there's process behind it. Like the secret sauce is, the entrepreneur going in and say, okay, we're going to find the most valuable parts and we're going to process it out so that we can do it repeatably and provide high value. And then you get the benefit on scale where they're able to charge 28 pounds. Is that pounds? I think pounds a month. And which, for all this value. And they can do that because it's productized, because there's a scale component to it. So there's a lot of potential there. Awesome. So there's some ideas to give you all something to think about. There's so many things that you can do. I'm sure there's categories that we haven't touched on either, but this is a pretty good range of kind of what we tend to see and where you can tend to go. So we wanted to give you a few pieces of guidance now that you've got some thoughts in mind for what's possible, want to give you some guidance about what we've seen that works and doesn't work. The first is don't limit yourself. We've given you some ideas here about what can be done, but there's so many things like this. There's an infinite range of possibilities here, right? There's a showcase. If you're interested in some more inspiration, we've got our showcase up on woocommerce.com/showcase, and you can just browse through here, and there's so much variety. We got pages and pages, so there's an additional source of inspiration. It can be good to get ideas. Just remember to stay focused on solving problems. That's me getting ahead of myself. Start with small batches. If you're going to make something custom, like in general, it's good to start small. Like it's better to have constraints and people on your waiting list and upset and frustrated that they can't get it fast enough than have too much of something, right? So avoid the temptation to go too big early on. Start with small batches. Be okay with the constraints and not being able to get to everyone, and then just kind of grow steadily from there. Make sure that you understand the costs involved in what you're doing. It can, like, what's nice about things like drop shipping and print on demand is that those tend to be pretty clear. You can figure out what your margins are. If you get into manufacturing, that can balloon pretty quickly. So make sure that you've done the work to understand what the costs are going to be. And if you can't do that comfortably, find someone who you can work with who can, if you're going to be in one of the higher risk businesses. Keep things as simple as possible. There's plenty of opportunity to make things more complex as time goes on, but the simpler that you can make things, especially if it's going to be a manufactured product or a handcrafted product, the simpler that you can make things early on, the better. And as I mentioned before, one thing, it can be helpful in some spaces to do research, depending on what what audience and problem you're focused on. Make sure that you kind of know the details. If you're working with a potential partner, spend some time really kind of digging in, especially if you're going to get into manufacturing, for instance. What are their policies? What happens if something goes wrong? And make sure that you feel confident about the approach that you're taking. Stay problem focused. Finding the problem to solve is the key to sort of making all of this work. And as you go down that path of exploring possibilities and getting into creating the actual product, make sure that you keep going back to what problem are we working to solve here, and what is the audience that we're serving want, right? You did that step previously where you checked with them and made sure that the idea matched. Sometimes in the creation process, we can go down a detour where like, ooh, this would be really interesting to make, but make sure that you go back to confirming that it solves a problem for the audience that you're serving. Noëlle, anything else to add to that? Any other thoughts?
No, that was very good stuff. I do want to highlight the starting small, and also like if you look at handmade products specifically, I have seen a lot of examples where people don't mind to wait, because if you're making something to measure, for example, or custom, or engraved or personalized in ways, especially, then you got a custom make, and then people don't mind waiting. So then you also don't have the problem. If you're doing personalized items, you don't have the problem of having to create stock first, etc., etc. So that's also a nice one. And personalization is also something that's quite hot and happening, and I think will only grow. So yeah, don't be scared to stay small or do the pre-order.
It's a great point on the waiting. Like, and we're getting more and more used to this idea of like something arriving right away, and which is great. But there's also a downside to it, and sometimes it can be refreshing to say, okay, I've ordered, now I have to wait several weeks or longer to get this thing, and it kind of makes it that much better when it finally does get there. So keep that in mind. In the next episode, we're going to talk about choosing an operating system. There's a lot of different ways that you can approach what you're actually going to build all this on. And we're going to start talking about the software a little bit. We're biased. We love WooCommerce, but there are other options out there as well. And so we're going to help give some perspective on that. We'll see you next week. Thank you for being here. And thank you to Anna in the background, our producer. Bye for now.
Bye.
Hey, thanks for watching. After the live show, we set aside time for question and answers, and I'd love to have you join us next time. Go to woocommerce.com/live and sign up. It's free. You'll get notified when we go live, and you'll be part of the live audience where you can ask questions and hang out with us after. I look forward to seeing you there.